What's up? We're back. It's All or Nothing.
Whoa.
I'm your host, Johnny Roberts, and with me, as always, my two good friends, Jasper Grover and Edward Dunstan.
G'day.
Hello.
Kicking off the show this week with what we're doing, but what Stewie Dew's probably doing. Something similar. Kicking back on the couch, maybe having a beer.
Farting around on the computer.
Chatting to his mates on his
Do you reckon he's on Big Footy, like spreading rumours about the Suns ball or something?
As romping wins or...
Yeah, exactly.
They use their burners mid-season as well, don't they?
Yeah.
Stewie Dew does not seem the social media type.
No.
But hey, he is out after becoming the second most losingest coach to play after 121 games. He won 36 games in that time.
Wow. Who was the most?
It's a rough measure.
Who was the worst?
Bill Steven won
Billy Steve.
32 games. Paddy Scanlon's in there, 41, Jack Hale, 42, and Alan Richardson, 42. You got to get the Saints in there somehow.
Yes.
Into these stats.
Because I'd known that Alan Richardson had been around for a bit, but he did get brought up as having an equally so-so record. And wow, that's such a long time to be in charge of a team and not go anywhere. Like,
I'm
I respect
very surprised,
but
Mark Neal isn't on that list as well.
Well, because he was only in for two seasons. So,
okay. Wasn't enough games played.
I do also enjoy that, Jasper, you and I couldn't even wait to get our bet on. Hang on, I got to give me a sec. Just coughing. So, as I was saying to Jasper, and that I've been saying for a little bit, I've basically been saying this since Damien Hardwick left the Tigers. I think that at some point, it may have been before this season. Who's the Gold Coast Suns president?
Mark Evans.
Mark Evans?
I think.
I think at some point he's contacted Damien Hardwick and been like, hey, Damien, notice that, that the luster with the Tigers is starting to wear off. How would you like to come up to the Gold Coast, kick back, and win a couple more flags for us? And Damien Hardwick was probably like, no, I'm good. I enjoy the Tigers. And then he was, I reckon they were probably like, well, how does like $20 million? And he was like, you know what? I can quit tomorrow. So Damien Hardwick quit tomorrow. He posted a photo on social media of him enjoying a beer and watching the Tigers. And he's going to take the rest of the season to relax, recuperate. In November, he's going to head up to the Gold Coast. And like I was saying, win a couple of flags for them. But obviously, this is like now becoming bleedingly obvious.
So you reckon that they talked to Hardwick before he even left the Tigers?
I think so. I think that's tampering. That's not allowed, is it?
That would definitely be not allowed if it became known that it happened.
It's not allowed in the NFL.
Oh, you're allowed to talk, though, aren't you?
I don't think you could offer them a position and say, we'll give you $20 million if you quit.
You have a dinner and you just happen to both be in the football world.
So that happened to Sean McVay and Matt Stafford. They were staying at the same resort in Hawaii, allegedly, just so happened. And then in that off season, he went and became the Rams' new quarterback before they won the Super Bowl that year.
I like to think on the how this happened scenario. I like to think that Hardwick left the Tigers. There was no discussion, but like the Mark Evans is somehow in touch with their social media manager quite directly, and Hardwick accidentally liked a couple of really old photos from the Gold Coast Suns. Like, when people like someone and they look at their facial profile and they're like looking through the old stuff and then they're like, oops, and like like a really old one or whatever. So I'd say Hardwick did that. And then the Suns got in touch and they were like, hey, we noticed, you liked a really old photo or something.
Like a little like, hey, boo, been thinking about you.
Yeah.
What you up to?
Ironic if Hardwick left a job for another social media manager's fault after leaving his wife for something similar.
Oh, really? What happened?
There's
That's all hearsay.
I don't want to.
Okay.
He and his wife separated due to him having a relationship with someone in the Tigers' back office.
Is that right? I was going to say maybe we should save this for another show, but we have just started the show and we could spend the entire show talking about
Well, this is old hat by now. This has happened last year, I think, or the year before even.
Okay. And weren't we talking last week that Damien Hardwick ran over someone's dog or something?
No, it was McLaughlin.
Or was that Craig McRae?
No, it was what's his name?
Hamish McLaughlin. Right.
Had run over Trent Cotchin's dog.
That's right. Yeah. But yeah, what a huge thing with Dew. Like, what are your guys' takes on like whether this is a good idea or not?
I don't think this is a good idea. Like, we've had this conversation previously, just after it happened. But I think Gold Coast needs stability, and they have been better, or they've slightly plateaued this season after last season. But Tuke's been out for 80% of it, something like that. So it's hard to judge against previous seasons. Not that the team is all one person dominated, but I think they've gone too early. Even if he's been there for 6 years, when he first took over, they were an absolute shit show. Not that they're that much better now, but they are better. They don't have they're not hemorrhaging good players. The main they are able to retain good players at the moment. So I think they should have held on to Stewie Dew because I think he had a big part in that.
What about you, John?
I think it was time. And I think that the win record shows that. Like, the only reason he's been the second most losingest coach over this time period is because that's been the reason that he's stayed in his position so long, is that players have left, and we understand that. They've needed development, they've needed system. But like, the reality is they've never gotten that much better. They've always kind of hovered around this mark since they came into the league, like 12 years ago. They've got a good roster now, and they've got a good side. And I think that Stewie Dew's probably had done a good job, but I think he may have reached the point where he sort of lost the confidence of the locker room, so to speak, and they just need to inject new life into it. And I think they've got all the right pieces. I think they're almost like the way, in the NFL, you can have a really good team, but if your quarterback sucks, you're not going to go very far. They just need to drop in one more piece. And I think it's going to be this sort of like Damien Hardwick piece to just reignite the entire team. And I think the top 8 is definitely on the cards next season.
It's interesting because they're not completely out of the equation for this year. So it will be interesting. I'm interested why they made the move right now. That's probably the only thing, because I'm an Essendon supporter. I completely disagreed with sacking Rutten last year, and yet, like, has that played some role in Essendon becoming a better team this year? Maybe. Like, don't really know, but like, they're definitely a better team this year. And now I'm like, well, okay, I don't know whether it's like because of the coach or not, but either way, we're a better side this year, and we did do that. And I do like Brad Scott. I think he's pretty like a good media performer and seems to be a good coach. But so I think like Damien Hardwick is a pretty well-credentialed coach, which is no guarantee that it will go well at this team. But
yeah, of course.
But I'm probably side with like 6 years is a long time. And it's a long time to be pretty shit. And obviously Gold Coast has been pretty shit, but that's a very long time in like coach land, where like usually if a coach has a couple of shit seasons, like, they're out. So,
and like, I think surely the Suns must look at the Giants. Like, they both came into the league at the same time. The Giants have had way more success. Albeit like Leon Cameron was a great coach, but they can see what Adam Kingsley's done in half a season. And like, the Giants are playing really well. The Giants are sitting just outside the 8. They're 2 points outside the 8. And that's what he's done in half a season. And albeit like, Giants got off to a really slow start, and that happens when you get a new coach. They've got to learn the new system. They had a really tough matchup. But like you said, Ed, at the start of the season, after round 1 or 2, like, I was sort of doubting them, but you were like, no, they got a good list. And it's shown. And the Suns have had all the same opportunities. Like, they've now got a good list as well, but they're so up and down. Having said that, I know what you mean by like, the timing is weird. So they got smashed by Port Adelaide on the weekend. They got smashed the week before by Collingwood. So, okay, that's the 2 best sides in the league. They beat the Hawks the week before that by 67 points. They got smashed by the Blues, really bad loss the MCG. But then the week before that, they beat the Crows by 25 points. So, it seems like a completely normal win-loss record over the last 5 games. And it doesn't seem like time to sack him. But again, like if it is just so stale in that locker room, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I like it. Just seems like weird timing because they could have just. I don't think there's any like, aside from like a couple in the media, it's not like, it's not like last year when it got out that Essendon had started looking at Clarko. Like, there's not a huge amount of pressure on Dew or anything. It's just like, look, he might be a coach next season, might not. But now it's like he's definitely not. And I guess it's like, make the move and be bold. Like, I don't know. I guess that's kind of respectable, but hopefully it doesn't fuck them up long term. So, yeah.
He's come around to the coach killing aspect now, Eddie, after paying dividends for Essendon.
Well, I mean, you don't actually know. Like, Rutten may well have had the same year this year as Brad Scott. It was just like,
natural development or game plan.
Do you think that the Suns have looked at what happened with the Bombers last season?
I reckon they
have. And because Alistair Clarkson's name started to swirl at the end of the season and a whole bunch of teams wanted him and they're just trying to get ahead of that. And that's why it's happening now. And they're like, we've got to get Hardwick. We don't want it to be a huge deal. We want it to be a thing of like support and an easy, smooth transition. Hardwick's happy. Like, when was the last time a coach left their club and it was on good terms? Like, that's what's happened here is Hardwick's left on great terms. Tigers still love him. Everyone still loves him. And if he was at the Suns, I think the Suns would get a lot of like support, right? Like a lot of people sort of sympathy support the Suns because they've been so bad. So I think this is like a perfect marriage.
How many coaches are possibly not going to be in their role at the end of the season? How many other jobs are going to be available to Hardwick?
That. Yeah.
Because if there's something in Melbourne, I guarantee he would take that over going to Gold Coast.
Well, he can't even be bothered going to Marvel Stadium, let alone.
Exactly.
You know what? One that just sprang to mind as like, it could, like maybe not, but I was just thinking North Melbourne, like with...
that came to mind as well.
Is Clarko actually going to be there? We don't know, so...
They have strong ties, Clarko and Hardwick, so could be a possibility.
The other one I was thinking of was, if Chris Fagan, like if they bomb out in the first 2 weeks of the finals or something, I reckon could,
We did float that idea at the start of the season.
I don't know if Brisbane finished top 4, I don't know if he's gone.
Yeah, but they've bombed out of a lot of final series and they've got a great list and it's the time to strike. And if they don't win, like that's a big deal.
Well, I mean, you say that, but then Collingwood and Port do just seem to be on another level. So how can you hold that against the team?
Just saying. Well, Warren Treadray still probably got his doubts over Ken Hinkley. So.
No, that was Kane Corns, wasn't it?
No, Warren Treadray at the study. I mean, I'm sure Kane Corns has had his doubts over literally every coach.
and player.
Yeah.
Doesn't Warren Treadray coach for Port?
I don't know. But no. He was on Triple M in Adelaide saying that after 3 rounds, they should sack Ken Hinkley.
That's pretty crazy.
And then Ken responded by winning 13 games in a row.
Yeah. It was a pretty good response.
Maybe he was just trying to light a fire under him.
Yeah, that's it. It was by design. But that was a good game from Port Adelaide again. Charlie Dixon's 200th game. Jeremy Finlayson's 100th game. Connor Rosé, good again, 26 disposals. It was always going to be tough for the Suns to go to Adelaide and win that game in prime time. But, what did you make of the Ben King getting subbed out of the game?
That was interesting.
I mean, if he's not making an impact, then... I don't have anything against it.
I actually thought, aside from the third quarter, the Suns were pretty good.
Yeah. It was a pretty dismal third quarter, but...
Like, the first half, I was like, wow, they have really come to play. Like, they're playing really well. And yeah, just the third quarter, it is nuts. Like, when teams just get a run on, and Port is really good at this, where they just pile on the goals, and they did that. So
yeah, they kicked 9 goals to 1 in that third quarter.
Yeah.
Isn't there a stat that once a team this season kicks something like goes on a run of 5 consecutive goals, they're like 90% or 80 to 90% chance of winning that game?
I mean, I believe it because mostly it's going to be good teams going on 4 or 5 goal runs. So,
yeah, I mean, I think even the bad teams do it as well. They just got to get that run started and then they're off. Man, yeah, Ben King, just one disposal for that entire game, just one single kick. Yeah. I can't remember when he got subbed off. Mac Andrew, tough game, but he's sort of like coming in. Yeah, he's up and down.
That said, with Ben King, like, I don't think either of our forwards registered. No, Sam Wiedemann kicked one behind. Peter Wright didn't kick a behind or a goal, I think, against Port. So their backs are pretty good.
Sure.
But if he's not contributing, then sub him out, get someone else who can run along the wing or get more touches at least.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's jump to that next one. Ed, you were at the game for Bombers Crows. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I was thinking about, while I was thinking about you at the game, and not to make this about Geelong, but I'm going to. Like, sweet. I feel like because of Geelong over the last 15 years, it's like the expectation is that we really always play well, and when we don't, that's disappointing. I haven't had that feeling of like what it is to watch your team finally all come together and play an incredible game, and like what that must feel like for your confidence, especially when watching it live and we're coming into the finals.
Your
thoughts? What's it like being so shit for so long that you're finally good?
Oh, I mean, it was an amazing game to watch. Like, we just kind of kept scoring goals. It was really good. We didn't have like a bad player on the ground in the first half, I don't think. And just like out of the center square, I couldn't believe that Andrew Phillips was just like, you know, like tearing up Riley O'Brien.
Yeah.
And our midfield was, you know, really on point. Jordan Ridley was basically marking everything at will, and like, you know, Peter Wright kicked like a couple of goals, but it was really just like a really even contribution amongst the whole team, which is great. I'm extremely like distressed by this, like, Essendon are basically a lock for the finals now. And it's like,
they're locked for a finals win.
No.
Yeah, I was actually going to send you this. There was, I think it's called The Raw. Do you guys follow that?
Yeah,
anyway, it's a
loosely,
you know, sports journalism thing. And
hashtag not a sponsor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, this is a diss for them because like one of their writers was like, thinks that Essendon could win the grand final. And I was like, this is a freaking awful take from that game. Like, they beat Adelaide in Melbourne.
That was written by James Hurd, wasn't it?
Probably. No way. He'd be against Essendon right now. He didn't get the coaching job last year. But look, it was a really satisfying game to watch. I will say, I didn't feel comfortable that we were going to win until probably the last, 10 minutes.
So the Crows did kick 6 goals in the last quarter to your 3.
Yeah, and they looked like they would score quite, especially when Ridley went off, which obviously may have implications for this coming week. But when Ridley went off, our backline, you know, they got on top of the middle for a little bit, and we looked pretty vulnerable down back without him there. So it was a great game to watch, though, and there was 40,000 Bombers supporters at Marvel, which is
good turnout. Bombers opened with 13 scoring shots, of which they kicked 7 goals. Shootout in the first quarter. Crows did kick 5 goals, and they've always started all their games strong. But yeah, you guys really turned it up.
It was great.
Speaking of Geelong and 40,000 big crowds.
We'll get to that.
We've got Essendon going down to GMHBA to play the Cats for the 6th time since 1990.
Is this trivia, or are we?
No, this is not trivia. This is just this is a free fun fact for everyone out there.
Yeah, Jasper had his trivia voice on.
I know, Jasper. We've won the last 5 games. We don't. There's no. We'll get to that at the end of the show when we go over the round. But that's going to be.
We don't want to talk about Geelong versus Essendon. What are we talking about? Geelong and Essendon.
I'm trying to celebrate the Bombers.
Yeah,
before you tell them when you tell them how much you're going to win by.
I think. It was a great game. I think Adelaide's still a really good team, but they definitely are a worse team in Melbourne. So I think great great win for the Bombers. Very confidence boosting. I hope Ridley's not injured. But yes, well done, Dons. It was good.
He's not, isn't he? I thought it came that he didn't. He was clear of any major injury.
Yeah, but he's got bone bruising, so he might not be able to play this week. And I think
he's a wimp, Wilson.
Yeah, he says exactly. Yeah, just get a jab. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
The Bombers in the first half had 70 more disposals than the Crows and 22 more inside 50s. And they had, it was a Zach Merritt and Darcy Parish, both had 39 disposals each. Remind me, Jasper, as well, before we talk about the Cats Bombers, that we've got to get the Darcy Parish. If nothing else, this is him sort of trying out for the Cats, I think, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, the Darcy Parish.
Another nearly 30-year-old recruit for Geelong.
Yeah.
But no, impressive from the Bombers. They've got to be a lock for the finals now, right?
Well, it's a lock for a finals win, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. No, we've got 9 wins, and I think it'll take at least, I reckon, 13 to get into the 8.
It's usually about 12 or 13. This season it could be 12 though, because of how close everyone is, because of how bad West Coast and North Melbourne are though. Yeah, so exactly. The Bombers will play Geelong this weekend. Then they play the Bulldogs, then the Swans. Those 2 games are at home. Then they play the Eagles at home, so there should be a win. Then they play North Melbourne. So there's plenty of winnable games in there. And then they finish with the Giants, and they finish with the Pies.
It'll be interesting.
So win now.
Ladder. Yeah, exactly. We're not going to beat the Pies.
Okay. Speaking of Geelong, one of my other moments from this round. So I've got 2 from this game specifically, and I don't usually try and get 2, but I thought that it was pretty cool. Cooper Harvey from North Melbourne making his debut. I don't know if you saw the presentation or the footage of like the Brent Harvey announcing to Cooper Harvey that he'd be playing was quite cool. And celebrated well. I do love Boomer Harvey.
Is Boomer Harvey a assistant coach at North Melbourne?
I think he's just a runner, isn't he?
He's there in some capacity.
Sorry, not just a runner. He is a runner.
Yeah, because Boomer Harvey, he still plays footy at a amateur league or something, and he apparently racks them up. So maybe he should still be out there. I don't think there's ever been a situation where a father and son have been on the field at the same time. Is there?
That would be cool.
No, I can't imagine that has happened.
No. So, I mean, this was probably as close as we were ever going to get, because Boomer Harvey only retired, 5 years ago?
Yeah, thereabouts.
4 years ago?
No, I think it was a bit longer than that. I think it was more like 6 or 7. Who's to say? Anyway, so Cooper Harvey,
too young.
431 games to go to match his old man.
Yeah.
Not bad.
This is not trivia, but this is a fun stat from Swamp. Is the time taken from their AFL debut to their first kick. Cooper Harvey was 6 minutes and 12 seconds. Brent Harvey was 238 days.
Really? Why did he take so long to have a kick?
I'm guessing he was maybe played one game, didn't get a touch, and then didn't play another game for a long time.
Because that's one of the interesting things about
footy back then.
Footy back in the 90s and stuff like that was that you could be on the interchange bench and actually just basically not come on for the whole game.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. There was no such, rotations didn't exist then?
Not in the way they do now, no.
That's why Cameron Mooney's a 4-time premiership player, is because he was on the bench in North Melbourne's 1999.
Didn't get a possession the whole game.
Didn't get a touch, had donuts. Still won a medal.
Got the medal, yeah.
Geelong in this game polled coaches' votes. 9 of their players out of the possible 10 polled coaches' votes. Wow. It was pretty boring to watch. It was I think at quarter time or half time, I think it was Mick Malthouse or someone was saying that it was so much a training drill that training's usually even tougher than what the North Melbourne players were dishing out. Inside 50s, 70 to 39. It was complete shellacking. Centre clearances 20 to 4.
Wow.
But I will say it was also congratulations to Zach Tuohy on becoming the most games for an Irishman to come out of here since. Oh no, I wish he wouldn't. So Jim Steins.
Yeah, old
mate Jim Steins. That nearly slipped my mind, but it didn't. It was awesome to see. He's an awesome player, and he's been awesome for Geelong. The crowd psyched him up to hit a torp. Shame he didn't get a goal, but that's not too much of a problem. I thought Atkins played really well. I thought Brad Close played really well, even though he didn't rack up a lot of stat possession touches. Bruin was good. It was good to see a lot of our young guys were playing really well.
Just on, I think it was Brad Close. I think Jared Watley called Brad Close the Lionel Messi of the AFL, and I was like, "Excuse me."
No. You're quoting one of my Twitter mates who was just doing some shit posting.
No. This is Jared Watley from SEN.
Someone faked a quote over Jared.
Yeah, it's not real. It's not real.
Oh, it's not? Oh, no, I swear SEN had that up. But
no, they do. So this is the problem with footy Twitter is like we are such pricks. Like there's people who will go out and just make up content. There's no basis of it. And then the news sees it, and because they don't fact check, they pick it up and they start like promoting it as news. And it usually takes like half an hour to an hour to maybe even a couple of hours. Sometimes it's even days before they actually go back and they're like, oh wait, this is actually fake news.
It's not restricted to footy. It's definitely a big thing in NBA with
I can't believe I got fake news.
Butt crack sports.
Yeah, butt crack sports.
They always try and put out fake stuff, and they catch a lot of fishes with their bait.
Isn't it ball sack sports? Is the NFL one?
There's ball sack and butt crack sports.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to my crackers and.
But there's been a bunch of like news reports on like Channel 7 News, like when they get to the sports section, and they'll just report like whatever someone said on Twitter as fact.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm glad you brought that up, Ed, because it's fun.
I can't believe I got tricked. I got tricked. Oh my God.
Well,
fake news.
I've got some real news for you. I got trivia now that we're talking about it. Zach Tuohy, most games by an Irishman. 265. He beats out Jim Steins at 264.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the remaining top five?
Oh, Tyconelli.
Tyconelli is number 3 at 197.
Yeah, cool. Irish players. Satanta O'Halpin.
No, he is number 6 at 88.
Oh.
One of them I have not heard of. He's from the 80s and 90s. He would have played a fair few games with Jim Steins as well.
Oh, yeah?
If you haven't heard of him.
It's a very Irish sounding name.
O'Reilly.
Not quite that Irish.
Yeah, was it Brady O'Reilly's?
Hamish
McLaughlin.
What?
Well, I'll give you this one. It's Sean White from Melbourne. I had not heard of him before.
No,
it's not a very
He played
Irish
150
name.
games. No, and I looked up his story, and he was born in Scotland, where he lived for 13 years, and then he was in Ireland for 7 years, and then he moved to Australia for footy. So I don't know if you can really claim that. Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay,
I don't care what Sean White thinks.
And the other one you're saying?
Yep, there's one more who is no longer playing, but recently retired. Think Queensland.
Queensland.
And Queensland specifically, and not one of the teams or the other. But maybe both teams.
Teams.
Maybe he played for Brisbane and Gold Coast. When Kara's arrow hits its target, it somethings it.
Skewers it.
But yeah, skewer Hanley. Piers Hanley.
Skewer Piers Hanley. Oh my God. I don't remember him at all. Like, I mean, I do. I remember that name, but I don't remember what he looks like. So
he looks Irish.
Yeah, okay.
Looks like a cheek cracker.
He was redhead?
Yeah, very.
Are you just taking a guess?
No, you got a good shot if you're guessing an Irishman with a red.
No. But I remember him being a bit of a like. While the Brisbane Lions were shit, he was like the one that he was like a good key back for your out of form key forward to go on. So kick a bunch of goals. So yeah,
it's good. That's what I remember about him. There you go. Irishman playing footy. Not many, only 5 over 100 games.
Yeah, it's a long way from Ireland.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's a rich history of Irish players, so it's interesting that they have such an impact in not as massive amount of games.
Yeah. Well,
we do have Mark O'Connor on our team as well as
he's
Oyston Mullen. Yeah, he'd be getting up there.
He's up there. Connor McKenna is up there. He's number 8. He'd have a few more this year. Marty Clark from Collingwood back in the day. And then Connor Nash for the Hawks. He's already top 10.
Oh, Connor Nash. My final notes from this game. So Cooper Harvey had registered, where are we? 10 disposals. So not a good first day considering they got smashed. Here's a couple of players on North Melbourne who got less than that. Jaden Stevenson, 9 disposals. Callum Colin-Jones, 9 disposals. Jai Simpkin, 6 disposals.
That's pretty bad for mid. Did he get injured?
From your captain. Actually, did he get injured? I think he did.
Surely. 6 disposals for a mid. Otherwise, he was just tagged relentlessly. So
I reckon the worst one, Stevenson. He can't be around for much longer, surely. He's been on a list with promise for a long time now.
Simpkin got a concussion.
Yeah, okay.
During the game.
Yeah.
But even then, so here's 12 disposals, so just a couple more. Eddie Ford, Darcy Tucker, Nick Larkey. I know Nick Larkey's a forward, but I guess even Harry Sheasel, 15 disposals. He's usually up in the 30s. Just overall, not a good day.
No. Does not sound like
had many this year.
It is crazy because I think everyone forgives them for the fact that their coach has been in turmoil the whole year, but they've won 2 games. I reckon they'll win one more maybe. But
there's not many games left to do it.
Yeah,
but it does happen eventually.
Well, I mean, they're playing us this week, so the Hawks could happen. The Marvel, where we don't play that great. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Danger game. But yeah, geez, they have so many good youngsters as well. They have all the ingredients. They're just obviously such an inexperienced team. And I think going down to Geelong, that's why obviously we'll get to it later, but not at all confident this week about Essendon. I think going to Geelong, I know John.
All right, let's talk about it. We'll talk about it.
No. I just think it's such a I don't know, for some reason it's really hard for lots of teams to win there. So
I think even though you look at the result from this last weekend gone and you probably think okay, of course Geelong got the job done. We in reality didn't play particularly well. And I definitely would concede that part of that is when you're this late in the season, you identify these matchups where it's okay, let's try and take a bit of a back seat. Let's just make sure no one gets injured. Let's just come out with the win. Doesn't have to be a complete shellacking, although you do want to get your percentage up. But having said that, now that Geelong had the draw with Sydney and there's that 2-point differential, percentage almost doesn't even matter for us anymore. So they'd probably look at that game and just go, let's just get through. This weekend against the Bombers. Okay, so let's... Did you want to talk? Ed, would you like it to be? Would you like it to be the MCG?
No, I'm fine with it being at GMHBA.
Because it was already at the MCG earlier in the year and we still kicked your ass there.
Yeah, I don't think it'll make a huge difference. I think we're a better team than we were then, but...
that's definitely true.
I think it would be nice if there was some more seats around that other side of the ground for people to sit in. I think... I'm not confident at all, just because you guys are going to get Jeremy Cameron back and we might lose a backman, and that's a huge loss. And then we'll also lose an out-of-form ruckman against you guys who don't really have a ruckman, or Reece Stanley or whatever.
Oh man, as I've learned, I've been learned this season that Reece Stanley, key cog in the wheel.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, he's a big guy, he's an athlete, but still. Andrew Phillips, proper ruckman, doing great, playing well, and he's out. And we don't have Draper, who was tearing things apart early in the season. So I think we're going to be in real trouble this weekend. I can't see us getting within 5 goals. So that's my take.
It's Cats by 3.5 goals is the betting line. We will have Jeremy Cameron back. We'll also have Jake Kolodjasny back. And I think he's going to replace Asava is what I'm hearing at the moment, Radaglia. Which they're kind of like, I think Kolodjasny plays a little bit better than Asava. Asava hasn't been great this season. But Kolodjasny's not great either. So hard to say.
The only way we win this is by like dominating in the midfield, which I think we could do. But like our midfield's in great form, and our forward line's pretty functional, kick a bunch of goals. We would just have to get a hot start on you guys and not, I think if we're not in front by like a few goals at halftime or something, then there is no chance we're winning this game. So that's my hot take.
Geelong prime time Saturday night. It's going to be 8 degrees, and there could there's not too much of a chance of rain. There'll be rain earlier in the day as well. Our mids have been bad, but we're starting to get together. Patrick Dangerfield has been playing really well. Max Holmes has been playing really well in the middle. So we're patching it all together a little bit at the moment. Stengel had a good game on the weekend up forward as well, and Hawkins has been playing. He's been kicking really well. And like I was saying with the stats, I mean, I know it was North Melbourne, but a lot of our key pieces have sort of taken a little bit of a back seat sometimes. They played really well. So
I think Geelong's a much more complete team than the Bombers, and you got we've got a decent system that's starting to come together, but Geelong's is like well established, good players, still playing well. I would strongly tip Geelong. I think you're in a very good position.
Yeah, the only way I can see us losing this game is if like I've been saying in weeks past, like Cardinia Park is not the fortress that it used to be, that it once was. We're always due for a loss at some point in the season there. Having said that, there was the loss against the Giants there a month ago, so that might have been it. And honestly, I think it depends on what version of the Bombers we're going to get on the night. Like if we get awesome Bombers like we saw last weekend, then it's going to prove to be challenging. But if sometimes when teams put all their energy into big games like the Bombers did against the Crows, and then the next week they're just completely zapped of all energy. So,
well, I'm interested to hear what neutral Jasper has to say about all this. Two of his least favorite teams.
I hope it's a draw where everyone is only mildly injured until the finals, just a very slight annoyance, and they can't play the rest of the game.
Yeah, Jasper, surely, I know you hate the Cats, but surely with the Bombers, you have like a bit of Don Draper about you where you're like, I don't think about you at all.
No, there's always history between the Bombers and the Hawks.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, cool. It goes back to the 80s.
Yeah. Jasper remembers the 84 grand final like it was yesterday.
I was but a sprog in my dad's balls, but I was angry.
Knowing your dad, that's too much information. So if the Cats do win this game, we will jump ahead of the Bombers on the ladder. Let's have a look. The Dogs also, where's my season schedule gone? The Dogs this weekend, who are they playing? This is great podcasting. I need to bring up a fixture, which went away.
Dogs are playing.
They play the Swans tomorrow night. So in Sydney, Swans are actually favoured. Okay, so the Dogs lose that game, and then the Saints lose to the Gold Coast Suns, which is entirely possible because we all know teams coming off of a coach getting fired, for whatever reason, play really amazing the next week.
Coach bounce, yep,
and it's at the Gold Coast. Geelong is primed to sit in 5th.
Yes, I think that is probably a position which reflects where they are in the competition. I don't think they're in the top 4 teams, but I do think they're probably better than the rest of the teams out there. So, yeah.
Your other threats, so Crows, Giants sit just outside, and they play each other on Saturday night in Adelaide. So should be a fairly easy Crows win, I would think. So they might jump into the 8 as well.
We could be out of the 8 by the end of the round if Adelaide, Geelong, Western Bulldogs, and St Kilda win, which is all the favourites. So
you do have better percentage than the Saints and the Dogs, though. But not the Crows.
No. So
are any of them playing not Port, West Coast or North in their run home? That'll be a big percentage booster.
Coming up do you mean for the Dogs?
For any of the teams that would help be.
Well, we've got North and West Coast.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So Bombers are in a...
That's an extra, 10% onto your percentage right there?
They're in a good position.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, so West Coast finish with... they play Adelaide, they play the Dogs, and they play the Bombers.
Wow.
In that group. Okay, so a lot on the line. I think that's it for last round. Other than that, like I was saying before the show, it was very vanilla week. Lions smashed the Eagles. My only thing with that was the over-under was 81.5, and it finished on Lions by 81, so you had to tip the Eagles. Lions by 81. I love those.
That's rough.
Yeah, I took the week on. I've taken actually like a few weekends off now of placing any bets. Just it hasn't been going too well for me.
You must be so rich.
Yeah. Yes, that's why I stopped doing it.
Betting is your main source of income. So,
can you imagine? I wouldn't be living in Williamstown. Yeah, everything else was pretty chalk. Pies beating the Dogs, saw that coming.
GWS
Giants Hawks was actually a good game. Jasper, any highlights? Any highlights from you?
I mean, the whole game was very back and forward. It was like a tennis match. It was very from one end to the other.
They always play each other well.
Yeah, there's a bit of a rivalry there. We just need to play some finals. But yeah, it was, as I was saying, it was very up and down from one back line to one forward line. But the class by GWS showing entering that forward line was a level or two above the Hawks. They were a bit in disarray with their inside 50s. They could not hit a target to save their lives. I can't remember. Again, great podcasting. Let me just look up the marks.
Yeah, marks inside 50 was 17 to 5.
Yeah.
Wow.
So triple the amount of marks inside 50s and to only lose by 2 goals. I'll take that, I guess, in a year that we're tanking. But they also had 103 to 54 marks overall. Yeah. So that was obviously part of the game. But yeah, we had nothing going forward. So any goals that we did kick were really just out of a rush or out of like a stoppage or anything like that.
Do you think had the game been played in Tasmania or Melbourne, it might have been a different result, probably?
Hard to say. I reckon we would have lost by more in Melbourne, possibly, for some reason or another. I couldn't say why, but in Tassie, I wouldn't have been surprised if we won. But hard to say.
On to another game from the weekend. I wanted to check, what do you think the level of excitement on a scale of 1 to 10 should be for Carlton supporters now that they're on the precipice of the top 8 after beating Freo in Freo by like 10 goals?
That depends if you're talking to Carlton supporters from 2 weeks ago or Carlton supporters from before the season started.
I'm talking to objective analysts like yourselves. You know, what do you reckon they should be sitting at? Like, is the lid off at like a 7, 8, 9, or is it still firmly on at like 5 and 6?
Well, the lid should be on. Like you can't be lid off if you're not top 4. That is you're going lid off and you're not even top 4.
They did thrash Freo in Freo.
Yeah, Freo have been a bit of a basket case this year.
Yeah, so did the Tigers. Tigers went to Perth and smashed Freo as well. Like you never know what you're going to get from the Dockies. Look, like their last. So, okay, they've lost to the Blues by 53 points. The week before that, they lost to the Dogs by 29. They beat the Bombers. I think that's probably more surprising than anything. Having said that, they got smashed by GWS by 70 points.
Yeah.
And then that was in New South Wales. And then, like I said, Richmond went to Perth and beat them by 15 points. Like, they're like the same team as last year, but... They just can't, for whatever reason. Maybe it's the problem. They've just they never evolved or changed their game plan, so people have been able to figure them out.
The only thing I'll say with them is that they're actually quite a young team, and they lost David Mundy at the end of last year, and someone was saying that their midfielders got very small in comparison to last year, whereas they used to have. They had Will Brodie in the team, Nathan Fyfe, and David Mundy, whereas now they've got 3 pretty small midfielders that are very good, they're just like not very tall and they're young, so they get bullied around the ball a little bit, apparently. So
yeah, and I think that's part of it. Like if Caleb Sarong is not having a good game, and I think Carlton are able to keep on top of him, then it is going to be way trickier. Jordan Clark has never been a solid midfielder, in my opinion, and that's from him playing at the Cats as well. And Liam Henry is not a household name as well. So, yeah, it's like three very small people. And this is a team who, like, you look at the hitouts, Freo had 70 hitouts to 18 for the entire game.
You got smashing
that
clearances.
hitouts are an overrated stat.
Well, I think I'm more talking about
in context. You know,
I'm more talking about how dominant their tall ruckmen have been. Like
Sanderlands.
What year?
Sanderlands. Darcy.
Yeah, Sean Darcy.
I thought you said ruckman, so I was like, are you referring to past ruckman as well?
Or just like Freo have always had dominant ruckmen in general.
Everyone knows Freo just has very tall ruckmen.
I do love thinking about. I don't want to go too far on a tangent, but like players that teams like have an archetype about.
Oh my god,
like Hawks have like centre half forwards and like Dermy and Buddy and stuff like that. Freo have got the dominant ruckman.
I would say the Hawk player that I think of is like a skillful halfback or half forward as your archetypal player.
I guess over the last 15 years, that's probably true.
Yeah. I have archetypal players for every time. You know what? Bulldogs have a million of midfielders.
Yeah. They're all midfielders.
That entire team.
It doesn't matter. They'll play anywhere.
Since the 90s. Like they've had the
Liber and
over like 30 years, but never had like awesome key forwards. So
okay, we are way behind. We've been talking way too long about this. So Ed, let's jump to rules of the world. Jasper, you got any trivia?
No, we've done trivia.
Done
Irishman.
Great questions,
And then we'll finish off with the week ahead.
Yeah, cool. So, as you may know, I did go to the football last week. It was a great game. Essendon produced an avalanche of goals. It was great. Adelaide stayed entire, so they tried to get back, but then Essendon kicked away. It was a very fun game to watch. But one thing that I think needs a total revamp is the fan experience at the football. Now, I'm talking about, sometimes during the game, but, quarter time, half time, three-quarter time, it's basically dead air, save for some lame, race between the Essendon Bombers, like mosquito mascot and a fan and on Kiss Cam. This needs fixing right away if the AFL is going to get ahead of the pack.
Ed, what about the children? What do you think of the Auskick children?
Auskick's fine. That's fine. But it's
not entertaining enough.
It's good experience for them, absolutely. But I think we're living in an age of podcasters and apps and all that kind of stuff. So I think we need to bring the football experience into the 21st century. So my first idea that I want you to both consider is I think the players. So I've heard that the players have to put their phones in a box before going into the change rooms, and they don't get to see it during the game or anything like that. I think the players should get their phones back and have the option of taking it onto the ground with them. They could be live Instagramming themselves after a goal. They could be cheering with their mates on the bench. They could be filming the coach's speech, doing a cool TikTok dance at halftime, and everyone's liking it and sharing it. They could be even while the game's going on, if it's down the other end of the field, doing little snaps with fans and stuff. And
can you imagine how if you could get coaches votes from this, Bailey Smith would be one of the all-time greats of the game.
You mean future Geelong player Bailey Smith?
Oh, we didn't talk about that. We should have.
Yeah, you need but how much would this be monetizing the game even further? Because people are not interested in football, but really like the football players and stuff and think they're really cool or whatever, but would be tuning into the game. And so you'd be getting more eyeballs on screens watching the football and interacting with the game. And when you're at the game, you'd be like, oh my God, wondering what they're doing. So, yeah.
I think we need more people on their phones at the G, not just players, but fans as well.
I want more phone interaction.
Yeah.
So imagine your players like distracted by their phone and the ball comes to them and it's like a comical, happenstance.
But there's going to be a lot of like trod on phones and things that like phones are just going to be out there on the field, on the ground. They're going to get stopped.
And it's like you could be live streaming while you've got the ball and be like, oh my God, how crazy is this?
Some of the players who love a cheeky celebration are who was the Collingwood player in the VFL who did the
Jack Ginnivan?
No, in the VFL he did the cheeky. Here's the ball.
Ash Johnson.
Ash Johnson, yeah. He would love a bit of phone play while he's playing around with the ball.
Yeah,
bit absolutely. Of showboating, I think.
Yeah.
As someone who works in content marketing or content production, rather, I think that this is one of your best ideas yet, Ed. I think this is a way to bring in a lot more engagement and viewership to the game.
I barely saw enough sports betting and other ads at the football, so I need more.
And should we change the big screens that they've got at the G? Should they like turn them so they're vertical, and then they could just have like someone they nominate a kid in the audience and he can just be on TikTok on the big screen. We don't need replays of the game. We just get to watch someone scrolling TikTok.
It's like chat roulette, but fans in the crowd.
And there'll always be someone wanking.
Yeah, exactly. No, it'll be obviously all G-rated, thumbs up content. And, so that's one idea. And the other one that I thought, I heard that the Tigers, love their mindfulness and meditation and everything. What about at halftime? We all turn out the lights and, all go, and everyone, it's actually, you have to remain seated. There's actually people enforcing this, and we all get really present to, be really present as a fan. And it's mandatory engagement. Everyone has to do it. It's lights out for 20 minutes until the game goes back on. So
does everyone do the
yes, yeah.
That'd be pretty cool hearing a whole stadium going
exactly. Get a little zen about you during the football because everyone's stressed. They need to like calm down a little bit. So
this is starting to sound like
very calming.
It's starting to sound like Charlie's daycare where you have to have a nap at lunchtime. At halftime, everyone has to have a little nap.
Yeah. We turn the lights. Actually, I feel like turning the lights out of the stadium would be chaos.
We light one of the signs on fire. We see how we go.
Yeah, okay. Maybe that doesn't work.
We hand out balaclavas.
Okay, this one I think you guys are going to love. So, you know that there's like a G-Up guy at the games where he's like, who was it? Was it James Sherry or someone like that at the MCG?
Yeah, someone later as well who does the G1.
Yeah, okay. So I think let's get rid of the person who does the whole stadium. But I know I was sitting in my section of seats and I'm like, there should be some kind of entertainment going on here. What about every single section of seats gets like their own person as like a bit of an entertainment person, and it's like either comedians or podcasters out there at quarter time, halftime, three-quarter time. We have direct in-person crowd engagement from that person for each section of seats. And so everyone's engaged all the time with like banter, jokes, game commentary, and all the podcasters and comedians get free exposure. It's not paid, but free exposure.
I mean, it's not a bad idea, but it is very... In the NBA, they have people in every section always handing out like free T-shirts and free food and free drinks and whatever else.
Do they also like make banter with the crowd and
not so much banter as like encouraging them to dance silly or kiss their and significant other or brother or sister?
Do they also tell them to like their podcast and
yeah, they ask them to be a guest on next week's episode?
Exactly.
Yeah, I really want to see a lot of sad podcasters out there spruiking their business.
But it's like there's so many sports podcasters and comedians out there.
The problem is
they're desperate for the exposure.
No, I'm not.
You guys are much more outgoing than me. If I was tasked to do this, I would just be sitting in a seat pretended that I was just another fan, and I would not be talking to anyone, I'd be.
That'd make people want to listen to you even more, Jess.
He's mysterious.
Yeah, exactly. What's he going to say?
Oh man, I would love to be out there talking to people about my podcast.
Yeah.
It would be very similar to the NFL, where you get free fights at halftime, particularly in San Francisco. So
just get one of those coin shaker tins and go and pretend we're spruiking a charity, but we're actually spruiking our podcast.
That would go down really well.
Yeah.
Money, and then with the little promo, listen or watch Ball and Nothing.
Yes.
This is some good brainstorming content ideas.
Yeah, we've gone from entertaining the crowd to spruiking our podcast
to marketing our show. I'm enjoying this. I'm for this.
Yeah. Okay. So my last idea, I was clutching at straws here, but I always think that there should be more roller coasters in cities. I think there should be a roller coaster attached to the stadium. They've already developed it a fair bit with the, shopping center and everything. What about a roller coaster that goes inside the stadium, around the top, and then outside the stadium as well? And people can get on the roller coaster that aren't actually going to the game. So you get more people looking at the game and also enjoying Marvel Stadium, getting to know a little bit, getting a little taste of it, but also people at the ground can jump on as well. And they go on fun roller coasters during the halftime.
I was astonished. I thought I had heard of this idea before. I thought that a roller coaster on a stadium was already a thing. I am astonished that this has not happened in Vegas or somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I get so bored just sitting in my seat and, contemplating life during halftime. I want to go roller coaster. So
I reckon it'd be pretty cool if it goes over the stadium, so you got a bird's eye view of the play happening.
Yes, yeah, that'd be cool.
You can notice all the tactical adjustments that are happening in the 0.5 seconds that you're over the stadium.
No. It goes up like a Tower of Terror, and you're like, whoa.
I think there does need to be slides that take you from the top of the third level of the stadium or the fourth level. So after the game, everyone can make a speedy exit. Can you imagine the chaos though going down?
I was going to say some absolute C word would throw a half full beer cup just on one of the slides.
I think a slide. No, but you know how they have that Oz kick thing at the end of the game sometimes, or not Oz kick? It's kick on the grounds. The third level is completely taken away from that experience. Why don't you get a slide onto the ground? That'd be great.
Well, why don't they just play kick to kick in the seats?
That would be much
just
safer.
like Specky on the seat.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I have for this week. Yeah.
Thank you, Ed.
Fans will be happy.
Yeah. Another brilliant week of Rules of the World. So a couple of games this weekend that we're looking at. So Dogs go to Sydney on tomorrow night to play the Swans. I think that's kind of must win for the Dogs in order for them to keep pace in the 8.
Yeah. Well, it's 8-point game. Dogs could go up a whole bunch. Sydney, this is their absolute last chance. They got to win this game if they're going to make the 8. So
I think it's over. I think after the last weekend losing to Richmond, it looks like it as well. But I know what you mean. It's there's still a fair few games to go, particularly the extra game this season. D's and Lions should be a cracker at the MCG. Can the Lions overcome the MCG? Not so much the D's, but the MCG.
Very big game. I'm looking forward to that one. I think I reckon Lions will win.
That's a big call.
Yeah.
Huge call. Although D's have not been that good recently, and I think they're still without Bailey Fritsch, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yep, 6 to 7 weeks with a foot. Tom McDonald's still out. Clayton Oliver is out.
I think
indefinitely at this stage.
Yeah, I think Lions playing well. They've got a great midfield, great forward line. I reckon D's. I watched the entirety of St Kilda versus Melbourne, and they looked pretty average. They looked better than the Saints, but they looked pretty average. So yeah.
Lions injuries. Noah Ainsworth. It just says face. He's out 4 weeks with a face.
It's just an ugly face.
He's getting a nose job.
And Josh Dunkley calf 1 week.
Oh, dang.
Potentially. The other games from this week, so that's Friday night. Should be a cracker. We think we'll beat the Dockers. Suns, I'd love to see them beat the Saints.
They're
in the face of what's happened. They are favourites because the Saints.
Weird.
Well, no, because the Saints suck.
Suns aren't much better.
No.
I would say Suns are much worse, I would say.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I hope it's close. Yeah, that's all I hope.
Is this a hot take? I think the Gold Coast Suns have a more complete team than the St Kilda Saints.
I
reckon I don't think it's an insane take, but I think you're wrong. I think Saints have a better team.
The Suns don't have any injuries.
Oh, okay. You're just talking injury-wise, just this game. I thought you meant in general.
Yeah, and then the Saints, Jack Billings is out still. Brad Hill might play. Jack Higgins might play. Max King, he's out for the season now. Tim Membry's still out 4 to 5 weeks. Seb Ross is still out 4 to 6 weeks. Like, yeah, I think maybe
the Suns will probably win. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Can the Blues beat Port Adelaide? No, because it's at Port Adelaide's home ground, Marvel Stadium.
I am going to say this game will be not too... I reckon it'll be close. I reckon Port will probably win, but maybe by 3 goals or something.
I have a feeling Port might have their eyes on next week's game against the Pies, and they could let this one go.
Maybe.
Because they're due for a loss at Marvel.
They're due for a loss in general, I reckon. Port Adelaide's a great team.
At Marvel.
Blues are playing well.
Yeah, Blues are up.
But the Blues only beat up on bad teams.
They've only beaten bad teams, but it comes in with confidence, gives you confidence beating any team.
I think so. Yeah.
In prime time Saturday night, Bombers are going to Geelong and the Giants are going to Adelaide. Can the Giants beat Adelaide? I don't think so in Adelaide.
No, I don't think so.
I reckon Crows will be looking to get back up after last week.
Yeah.
And then just the 2 games on Sunday. North Melbourne playing Hawthorn. How's that game not played in Tasmania? They already played each other in Tasmania.
Well, it's a North home game. So
aren't they Tasmania?
Well, Hobart, but I don't know. They might have had their Hobart games already.
Yeah, maybe. I think that this is a really hard game to tip. I think.
We only beat them by 14 points earlier this season, so it's not like
I reckon. Maybe North just they're due for a win. Hawks have been, had a good week last week. Sometimes they're a bit up and down. So my hot tip for the week, everyone, is North on Sunday.
That is hot because North Melbourne has not been good, and the Hawks are 2.5.
Hawks are a better team.
They're 15.5 points favorites.
Yeah.
So
they're a better team in general, but I just think
we've lost to some teams that we're better than this year, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and then a nothing game later in the afternoon of West Coast.
Yeah, and then the sad Perth game on Sunday night.
Oh God, yeah. This is a sad time.
There's always a sad Perth game on a Sunday. It's either Free or West Coast.
Yeah, at the moment.
They love Sundays.
Yeah, well, they keep requesting Sundays. And AFL's like, no, we want to put you on Friday night prime time.
No, they're like, we hate Friday night.
It's on at 4:40 p.m. Eastern.
On a Sunday. Everyone's watching on a Sunday at 4:40 p.m.
All right, that's going to do it. Another weekend. That was a long show. We've been going nearly an hour and a half.
Really?
Obviously, an hour. Okay. Obviously, Stewie Dew was a hot talking point.
Big man takes up big space.
Yeah.
Where does he go now? Which team do you think he...
the Balinese Bongos. He's taking a year off at least.
Yeah. He should have some fun. Go to Italy.
That sounds good.
Date an actress again.
Yeah.
All right. We will be back next week. Enjoy the weekend of footy, gents. I'll speak to you then. Goodbye.
Whoa!